Well, hello everyone. It's a Gundam Explained podcast. I'm your host, Adam Blue. It is the nice episode. And also some nice things about it are I'm using some new software, so hopefully, we're always talking about those technical difficulties, but hopefully this time around it's all good. But hey, Steven, what's up, man?
Hey, cheers. Nice.
Okay. Yeah, and I see the levels jumping up, so please, people in the chat, there might be a delay. Tell us if you can't hear us, because so far so good, and we want to use this time to actually talk about Gundam, because Gundam's been fun. In fact, what was it last night on Midnight Hatter Live? You were going over like these 3 tips, or almost like these 3 good pieces of information to like kind of go by as you're building Gunpla or anything.
Yeah. That was probably the most fun episode that we've had in a long time, because not only did we kind of go off the rails a little bit, but also I feel like that's just good life advice.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's a lot you could take away from that. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, in the links in the description for Steven's page every Wednesday, we have some fun on there. But hey, you know what? What's a Gundam Explained podcast without everybody? We got Lucas Garrett, Zionic Shadow, Goose, of course, Dark, Samurai Neo. Let's see, who else is in here? Mad Dog Wheaton, good to see you. And then Jedi Sayla, always good to see you. And I guess Ian is on a trip, so he's going to be out. So, shout outs to Ian. He's resident mod, as well as Goose. Doing some traveling. Always a lot of fun. But speaking of traveling, when do you plan to do some traveling? I know sometimes with a baby that's kind of up in the air, really.
I mean, I don't have anything on the agenda for a long time.
Okay.
So, but yeah, what about yourself? I mean, we got the holidays coming up. That's a perfect opportunity to shuttle the family around and make them experience all the misery that is the road trip with the family.
No, I was thinking about that myself. I do want to travel. I just don't know where next. And actually, Zionic Shadow is saying New York. That might be what we do.
Yeah. I mean, it's been probably about 4 to 6 years since my last New York Comic-Con. And I feel overdue for one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I haven't even been to one except for like a San Antonio Comic-Con, which I don't think that counts, but
yeah, it's like if it's not New York or San Diego, I don't know if it counts, but yes, I do see you in the chat there, Zionic Shadow. I did get that email. That is a robust.
The list of games.
It's basically. I don't want the audience to think that like, oh, Zionic Shadow sending us private DMs that have
invaluable information.
Yeah, no. He had a comprehensive list of every PlayStation Gundam game to date, and let me tell you, there were some titles on there that I did not recognize. Adam, did you encounter some of that where it was like,
yeah,
I had no idea that this game existed?
Yeah, there's still some, even though I've done research, there's still some I haven't come across, mainly because I've been trying to like play what I can with emulation. But it reminded me when I saw G Savior on there, I was like, I need to get to that. I need to make that video ASAP. I just can't wait. And then, Sayla's on a trip right now, too. Spent the whole day driving through the Appalachian foothills. Oh, wow. That's some cool scenery. And so, for today's show, we're going to talk about some creepy Gundam moments. There was this, from the last Witch of Mercury, some creepy stuff going on, but then it made me realize that is actually kind of common in Gundam, things being creepy to degrees, and we'll see. I have some comments people have left, but we'll see about that. And then also there's some Patreon questions that are pretty awesome. That might take up most of the show. It's a lot of fun stuff there. Ones. Yeah, so we'll do that. I just want to say a couple other things. The G-Watch episode 2 is still coming out this month. It just got delayed. I think it's something we've figured out is trying to cover an entire series is really hard to do, even half a series within a month. So what we're going to be doing, we're still going to have a movie night by the end of this month, but we also, and it's going to happen soon, watch Hathaway because there were some technical issues we couldn't get it to run. So we're gonna do that sometime this month. And so I think the plan for the next G watch would potentially be Hathaway, since we're gonna be doing that as a movie night. So yeah, more to come on that. And really, there's a lot of stuff I always like to do, but sometimes I drop the ball in communicating it or the next step. So guys, just reach out anytime. Discord, if you need clarity on, hey, Adam, you said this. Where is it? So that kind of helps me be on point. Yeah. So I think that's it for kind of the boring stuff. Let's actually move on. I am going to do this cool thing now that I got this new software to see if I can switch. Oh. Okay. So, sorry, there probably was some technical difficulties, guys, but we should be back. So, yeah, again, I'm using this Wirecast instead of this other software from before.
Sweet.
But anyway. Okay, now that we're back on, and we should, there's a delay, so, but the audio should be back. So, this past week, I did the reaction. I call it a reaction, a little review of episode 6. And then after I took it in, watched it again, and then I started reading things online, I realized there was so much more going on in the show than I thought. And I got to hand it to the people out there.
Why would you subject yourself to online opinions?
No, I got to hand it to people online. Like, people are able to come up with some pretty interesting theories, even if they're not true, but it seems to hold up. Yeah. And so what's very interesting about this latest episode, and Steven, have you watched it? I forgot to confirm with you.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you that the collective knowledge of the internet can be a powerful tool.
Oh, yeah. And so that was the thing. Like, a lot of times what I do is I'll watch the show, do the reaction, watch it again, and then do some research to see if there's anything neat to talk about it. And this was the first episode that it seemed that way, because we're getting to where there's this possible cloning that is occurring, something about changing someone's face. There's also been something where a part of the Gundam turns into a person. And then I don't know what that's all about. So what some of these theories are pointing to is that the Gundam is full of dead people or dead pilots, and then they clone them, and then when they die, it's like how they get pilot data. Are you seeing it like that?
That's definitely one strong interpretation of what we've seen so far, and it's nice because I think that the prologue is finally starting to pay off a little bit for us, because the prologue almost seemed disconnected from the first 4 or 5 episodes. So
yeah, no, that's true. The prologue was really strong, and then even though they were setting up the characters pretty cool with the other episodes, it was missing that element, and I've kind of got it, and I really don't know what to think. One thing I will say is just seeing the Gundam Aerial fight the Gundam Ferric, that was just top tier Gundam stuff we want to see anyway.
Right. I mean, that was we've been waiting for that fight, right?
Yeah,
And in a sense, it's kind of unfortunate because it's like, you kind of think about the fight between the Darabald and the Aerial Gundam was a fight that we anticipated as well because they were playing that up as a big villain, and then it kind of
yeah,
went down pretty quickly. But I mean, it's so far. I
yeah,
think that they're finally starting to reward some loyal viewers here.
yeah. I think so. It's getting into that Gundam territory where the themes are a little more mature. It was kind of fun with the school kids getting to know each other, but now we're dealing with some like not only death but adults really not caring about other people, which is another Gundam thing. Let's see.
Looks like my
Eh,
audio might be unfortunately
oh,
robotic.
well,
Adam, I am your father.
well, yeah. Sorry about that,
Search your
guys.
feelings.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, curious though, what you guys think in chat about the what's going on if you've watched it. And I wanted to go real quick too. I added actually at the community tab. I asked, "What is the creepiest plot element in a Gundam story? Any context?" Because I meant that in the way like you don't have to explain previous things to lead up to it. Because I think a lot of times we might get it. So Brian Zanichelli, the creepiest plot in the Gundam story is probably Thunderbolt's story in the UC timeline because it does show the horrors of war in the UC 0079 One Year War, but it does show the characters in the story having deep depression and having deep sorrow of loss and loved one during the process of war. And I think that's on point. In fact, in the thumbnail, I think I got a picture from Thunderbolt of someone in shock because that is a creepy one. What do you think?
Yeah.
Steve, have you watched through Thunderbolt?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, well, and I also have the Thunderbolt mangas, which
Oh,
are equally as dark. But I'll be honest, Thunderbolt is one of those that I think that the anime surpasses the manga because, for instance, the scene where Daryl is kind of having his flashbacks to his memories of his father and his family prior to his accident that caused him to lose his limbs, you know,
yeah.
those are so much more powerful in animation when you hear the music that's going on in the background. Manga just can't do that.
Very good point. Like music, audio, like for me, music is so strong when it comes to things like, yeah, when I first got into Gundam, one of the first things I loved was how the music is so good. Um, and yeah, and it's interesting because I think Thunderbolt even takes that concept of music and makes it its own character more than just themes, because it takes jazz as a genre and it's not really playing a typical score with the jazz. It's making it like it's this other character. Done very well
Yeah.
too, by the way. All right, let's see. Dr. Jim Eagle 2. Honestly, I think the missing link plot was kind of creepy. The Pale Rider was terrifying, especially when you find out who's driving the thing. I've been working on a horror-themed Gundam fanfic, actually, so I'm glad to see somebody asking this question. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, is that the one where, yeah, someone's, I guess they kind of died inside of it and their consciousness got fused with it? Is that
Yeah.
the Pale Rider?
So the Pale Rider is piloted by Chloe Croce. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Ah,
You know how it
who
is.
knows? Yeah.
But Chloe Croce is a new type whose personality is kind of tied to the mobile suit. But it's the same story as the Blue Destiny essentially
Oh,
because
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
you have the soul of Marion Welch,
Yeah.
a new type that is tied into the exam system, to the Hades system. Um, and so, I mean, it's a pretty dark timeline.
Yeah, you know what? That stuff is cool because every once in a while I come across that story element. For some reason, a human being fused with a machine for some like consciously being fused to where it's almost like they don't know who they are or what they're doing. Like the Ghost in the Shell movie. I know I didn't watch the anime, but the movie, like that stood out to me when like she's finding like having her wake up for the first time or whatever, and then going through that whole thing, and then the dude at the end that they were originally like boyfriend and girlfriend or something. I don't know. I loved that whole story, but it's creepy.
Yeah.
Um, Chili
Yeah, any
Legardo.
sort of transhumanism. I think that there's a couple of
Transhumanism.
episodes of like Cowboy Bebop and even some of the old Marvel comics when you talk about like the body hopping that Charles Xavier did in the 90s where his
Oh
consciousness
yeah,
transfers into other beings. Some of that stuff gets real spooky. So
yeah.
I'm
That
glad that
this.
Gundam has played with it.
Yeah, and I like the way they do it too. It almost seems like by nature it's kind of a creepy subject because I think it was that Wonder Woman 84 where they had it where the boyfriend was dead of Wonder Woman and he came back but he had to inhabit someone else's body, which is weird. Um
That is crazy.
did you ever watch that?
I haven't seen it yet.
You probably don't need to at all. It's I mean if you're really bored and there's nothing else to watch, but it just the plot just didn't really make much sense.
That's I feel that way about a lot of movies lately. This is like, it's a popcorn flick. It's not.
Sometimes it doesn't matter really. So from Chili Legardo, the Psychoframe's ability to not only hear, feel people's thoughts and emotions, but of also those of the recently passed individuals. The thought of me feeling the thoughts of someone as they are dying is terrifying to me. Yeah, so there are moments in Gundam, especially you see where a character that could be a new type or cyber new type is in a heightened state, maybe because they're in a battle or about to die. And then that's when it seems like maybe spirits of the recently deceased tend to sort of pop up. And I've never looked into it, but you're saying psycho frame. So I'm wondering if it's just any type of psycho resonance, whether that's coming from the brain waves or that's the technology that's supposed to manipulate it. Which could I'll
Yeah.
have to look back whenever those instances occurred.
Well,
Because
someone once told me many years ago that one of the reasons that they believe in the existence of ghosts is because of like the law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of mass, those sort of scientific laws that bind the universe and, inform our understanding of things is like, okay, well, if energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed, then what happens to the energy inside of a human body when they cease to exist, when they die, pass away? And so it's interesting to think about that in terms of like towards the end of Zeta Gundam when you're
yeah,
channeling all of these dead spirits into the final attack on Paptimus Shirako, you know, were the souls of those characters kind of ambient and it was just the biosensor and Camille's power that tapped into that, or was there something else going on? There's not really a clear explanation on that, but it's
yeah,
it's great stuff to kind of
yeah.
speculate about.
And it's kind of cool that there's not a clear explanation, even though there are some clear options for that occurring. It has to do with the brain waves, the psycho technology. And I love that. That's another thing when I got into Gundam is how they tackled new types. It's like how George Lucas tackled the Force, used a lot of Eastern philosophy. And what I think they did with new types is just use the latest in science we have about consciousness. And you talking about the conservation of energy. I mean, if some ideas, hold, the idea is that consciousness itself is a field and that field is what allows things to exist because they can observe each other because only one thing can only exist if another does. So I think, yeah, there is something to when someone passes, whatever charged their brain to be aware of the fact that they're living kind of goes back into that ether in a way. And maybe that's where when
Exactly.
people talk about past lives or reincarnation, maybe that's kind of where that comes from.
Look, man, if a Gundam falls in the woods and there's no one around to hear it, then is Amuro Canadian? I don't know.
No,
That's
then no, then probably Al will just stumble across it and yeah. Okay, so some other things from here are Dark Samurai Neo, Crux Dogati from Crossbone Gundam. He mostly piloted the EMA-06 El Gorilla and the EMA-10 Divinidad. Sounds like this is some other fiction, but awesome. He died in combat, but still, man, he's terrifying. You know what? Crossbone is definitely something I want to get into more. I have not heard of this, but holy crap. that's kind of getting into like what Rafflesia territory. What was that guy's name? The Mask, Iron Mask.
Iron Mask, yeah.
The thing's all plugged in. Jupiter Empire. That's kind of that.
The Barbus,
Yeah.
Zaku's that are piloted by monkeys.
Yeah.
If that doesn't terrify you, then
no, that's good that you brought that up, because speaking of crazy mobile suits out of nowhere, I found one when I was looking up the RX-78-2, and I'll get to that here shortly.
Ooh,
Remind me,
awesome.
though, when we get there. Okay, so this is some cool new lore. I usually like to drag those links into my research folder, so I'm going to look at that later. Okay, back to that. From BACD 1990, I would say that Hallelujah happed his backstory with Superhuman Research Institute, and then his other persona, Hallelujah, waking up, that ends up killing other fugitives when they ran low on resources to keep themselves alive in the shuttle during the escape. That was a good one, and I even liked that character, because I'm normally not crazy about when characters have two sides, except for, was it Lady Yun in Wing? That was done.
Oh.
Was it Lady Yun, or was it another?
Yep.
Yeah, that was done very well.
Because she went from like bun haircut to then straight hair, and it was like
different, completely different personality. What was interesting about Hallelujah is that it almost seemed like it was another character in a way, but I liked how later on they were like working together, where they kind of had like the same goal. Let's see. One song. Okay, this is Robert. Hey, Robert. One song killing off two guys at different points in time, sung by the same freaking girl. In other words, the G-Witch singing the birthday song. So I wonder if it's just coincidence, or do you think the writers are using the birthday like in parallel to death? Is that like an artistic choice, or? Because I didn't catch that.
And if we're going to dive into those types of theories about, the dead becoming part of the Gundam, is happy birthday.
Ah.
Are you being reborn as part of this Gundam? Even from just watching the prologue, I had the distinct impression that the Lifrith Gundam was sentient, that there was a personality in there. And so it's interesting to me that there's this sort of rhyming refrain of happy birthday and people dying. Maybe they're not necessarily dying. They're just being transformed into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like it. I like because this is being explored again, but in a very different way than we've seen before. Something real quick, because I saw a couple things. I saw Lucas Garrett joined the White Base crew. Good. Thank you, Lucas Garrett. I mean, always posting here. I really appreciate
you on board.
That. Yeah. And then let's see. Robert was making a comment about something. Sorry, Robert, didn't happen to see it. And then Zionic Shadow was saying something about narrative, because narrative really spoke on that whole topic. Let's see.
Souls getting trapped in the machines tends to be a recurring theme in Gundam.
Yeah, it more than I thought. Because at first it sounds very fantastical, but I guess it happens enough, and they explain the science enough where it's pretty interesting. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to the other one. Gundam is saying all of Victory Gundam is creepy. Trying to think of anything.
Well, the Bikini Death Squad for sure is there's a little creep factor there.
There is, I guess there's, right, because he's 13. But or is it creepy because really, as a grown man, I enjoy robots and bikini babes fighting. I mean, I don't know. Is that creepy of me? I apologize. Juan Roman.
Out if you didn't.
Oh, okay. I like that. No, Juan Roman. Any cyber new type clone stuff. Yeah, exactly. I'm anytime that stuff comes up in Gundam, they do a good job of keeping it mature, because it's kind of the way you got to explore it. Well, cool. Let's see. Zionic Shadows is even saying Hallelujah is his favorite in 00. Yeah, 00 did a good job. You know what? I'm still trying to watch other Gundam, but sometimes I get an urge to rewatch 00. I guess it's that good. Okay, cool. So, real quick, which one was? Oh yeah, podcast question. So there's a couple walls I'm gonna read here, but it's good stuff. So thanks, Brandon. I love this stuff because you're really trying to articulate your point and you're actually using data. So everyone sit back, relax. I'm aware that 0083 has its detractors. I've heard fans say that Kuraki is an annoying character. Steven's criticism of Nina acting like she doesn't know Gato is a mid-series retcon, is possibly a legit criticism. I actually saw the episodes out of order at first. I just viewed it as once Nina saw it was Gato, she was hiding her feelings and didn't want anyone to know she had romance with a Xeon pilot while aboard a Federation ship. She wanted people on the ship to trust her. Her emotional breakdown was a progressive one. If you look at episode 1, she didn't get a good look at who was jumping into the Unit 1. It's not until episode 2 where she hears the name Gato. The thing with 0083 is that it's so good and so well animated that it holds up even now against modern anime. The animation episode 6-13 of 0083 is as good, if not better, than what was in Hathaway. The only entry that has been better is Unicorn. The series is also a good length too, 13 episodes, not too long, not too short. Some Gundam shows are just too long. I'm glad they're starting to break shows down into season arcs. 50-plus episodes is too many damn episodes to digest. I have a life. I love G Gundam. If the show were just broken down into season arcs, I would love it, but I just don't have time to digest a show like that. So I'm going to break real quick because there's a lot of good points here. Steven, would you say 0083 still looks better than a lot of modern anime?
What I would give to 0083, and as someone who loves 90s anime, I love dark colors, I love the rich contrast that goes on there. 0083 and Turn A Gundam are probably my top two favorite illustrated Gundams, but it's comparing apples and oranges, right? Because the mobile suits in Hathaway's Flash and Unicorn are not hand-drawn.
Oh,
And
that's a good point.
so, you have this CGI animation, which I'm sure is easier on the animators, but I don't know about you, but does it kind of seem floaty to you? Like it seems like the mobile suits don't have weight. They don't have like crunch.
Yeah,
They
and
kind
I
of feel
think
like they're made out of paper.
yeah, and I think you would probably understand this too. I think with the use of CGI, it's sometimes it's easy to forget the little details when you just have to set an animation for a model and not think when someone's hand drawing and they're working at the different details and maybe having to worry about the frames and maybe skipping some frames because they're going to heighten a certain few frames of animation, like it and how they're drawing it. I think, yeah.
3D animation lacks keyframes, and keyframes are very important in 2D animation because that's where you get your like punch, right?
Yep.
Is like
it gives the weight
with a lot
like
of like
saying.
2D video games, you'll see that they actually linger on some keyframes. Like if there's a landing animation, if you're like coming down from a long height and you hit the ground, they'll linger on a single frame for maybe a couple of frames in order to create that illusion of like a punchiness. Whereas in 3D, you can't do that quite as easily. It then ends up kind of just looking like slinky.
Yeah, no, you're right, because there's another thing if you realize a lot of hand-drawn animation would do is, and I guess they still do it on computers, but when they draw something for a cell and the cell itself is moving, not necessarily, so they're including that along with animation, so it gives a very dynamic built-in feel. And that could due to us growing up with a lot of pen and paper or pencil and paper and drawing and kind of getting used to that, but it is noticeable when you see CGI. It is.
Yeah.
I personally, and it could be more preference, but I personally think 0083 has better animation than both narrative and Hathaway, just in terms of like a single cell might be drawn and more detailed in Hathaway or narrative, but when it comes to animation, there's a lot of times it looks like they will really skimp on, especially like characters if they're not necessarily fully in the foreground. But I just wonder if the more advanced technology to make things look better makes it harder to have the time to make everything look better. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it has to do with what we're used to at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to continue with Brandon. Oh yeah, there's something else because he was talking about Unicorn. Because I think Unicorn, the more I'm seeing all these Gundam shows, the more I'm thinking Unicorn is just that good. Like if I was into Gundam and then Unicorn came out, that would blow my mind.
See, and that's where you and I disagree.
Oh,
I think that Unicorn was a massive fumble for a couple of reasons, and I'm not going to get into those this evening because
okay, that's going to be
we
another video.
yeah,
Then.
we'll do the podcast Steven versus Adam on Unicorn.
On Unicorn, yeah.
But yeah, I think that Unicorn is definitely one of the measuring sticks that people use when it comes to Gundam, and I think rightfully so, because Unicorn stands out as it's a staple of the franchise for sure.
Yeah, and I would say it's more that Unicorn kind of grasps the inner Wikipedia of me, where it's like I need the details of the world, whereas it's not like a happy-go-lucky show. Like, in moments of original Gundam, there's more softer scenes that occur throughout, whereas I feel like Unicorn is, not only is it like super serious, but also the way dialogue is delivered. It's like everyone is a poet in understanding how a government should run, and they express,
Right, you have 13-year-olds that are commanding entire infrastructures and bureaucracies.
Yeah.
No, I think that while that may be the case, there's a lack of character development in Gundam Unicorn that bothers me, and then of course the issue of CGI animation. But yes, I think that I agree with you that in spite of that, using Unicorn as a measuring stick against 0083, which Brandon is doing, is a good comparison.
Yep.
I would generally I would match any Gundam against Gundam Unicorn as like a hey, but how does it match up to Gundam Unicorn?
Yeah, exactly. The Horse Awakens. That's actually something Sayla came up with, and I love it. I'm gonna use that all the time.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so one last thing before I continue on. I like that he mentioned that shows being too long. On one hand, I loved it. I loved every day when I was watching Zeta. I loved that every day I had an episode of Zeta to watch. Like that show could have went on forever. But like getting to some things like Wing and G Gundam, there's definitely filler. And it's like at this point, it seems like the studio is more respective of that because shows are shorter.
Well, and I'll push back on that a little bit because, the complaint is that, oh, well, it should have been broken down into multiple smaller seasons. And the truth is it was like, 0083 is 2 seasons because that's where you have the changeover from the winner as the intro music to Men of Destiny. Right?
Good job.
Is that
No, that is. Yeah, great job pulling that up. Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like Double Zeta. Like the seasons are really only about 22 to 25 episodes. Right. Zeta has a season split. I think the only series that doesn't have a mid-season split is the original series, which is almost 50 episodes. So, I think that I like I said, I would push back on that notion that other series should be broken up into multiple seasons because I think that they already are. But maybe in our perception of watching them all in one go, it doesn't feel like it. It's like binging something on Netflix. It's like, do you really notice when there's a season change in Netflix, or do you just watch through the entire thing?
It's funny because I love purposely waiting for the season change to be like, oh, there it is. Oh, this episode's ending on a cliffhanger. Oh, that guy lost weight. It's a new season.
Right.
Anyway. So to continue, I don't think it's possible to get the quality of animation seen in 0083 anymore. It will actually stand the test of time. Not all Gundam animation and stories have aged as well as 0083 has. I look at it regularly and notice various new things all the time that I didn't see before. And I'll add, like MS Igloo, which is awesome. They're using technology at that time to do like the best animation, but now that's like the cheapest CGI possible. So that's very interesting. The father-son relationship between Delaz and Gato, and Gato's heartbreaking cry, no, when Lady Sima executes him, is powerful. Even though Gato is the antagonist, we see he has real emotions. Lieutenant Burning's death, Ku's hero's journey, Ko starting out as an over his head rookie pilot, but manning up in the end, becoming the hero, and yet he still fails. He is rejected by the woman he thought that loved him and is unfairly punished by the military organization he fights for. He learns tough lessons about women's complex emotions and about unfairness and failing despite giving your best efforts. And, one thing I will add when it comes to that relationship between the two, I really think it was all surface level and on purpose. Like, he wasn't interested in Nina like all the other pilots were. He wanted to get in the Gundam. She was a Gundam, engineer.
She was Gundam adjacent, if we were going to use realtor terms.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't care about the pilots. But I think it was a mix of him piloting the Gundam and then knowing that she was so into the Gundam, and then him piloting the Gundam and her being into the design of the Gundam kind of made this surface level attraction of each other that I don't think was real beyond the Gundam. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you're not in love with the person. You're just in love with the idea of being in love with a Gundam.
Yeah. I like how you ended it like that. No, that's true. Let's see. Also, the Zeon soldiers are religiously fighting for the rights of space noids, but are willing to commit mass genocide to make a point. The Albion crew are just the good people caught in the middle. Also, the idea that the Albion crew failed, but they at least survived. The Zeons win, but they all die. Who really won? Powerful story, powerful ending. 08th team also had the potential to be epic like 0083 because it had more memorable humor and a strong story like 0083, but not enough epic scale action per episode. The ending of 8th team felt anticlimactic, but I still like it, and 0080 is just too short, only 6 eps, and too sad. Not enough action, but I like that series. Thunderbolt has been very interesting. I think Gundam Blue Destiny is an ideal candidate to be the next 0079 side story after Thunderbolt. The plot does sound very 0083-ish, but with some tweaking, it could be something different. So, good. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for going into that. But we're not done. So let me get to Brandon's other wall of text here. Let me clarify about my views on Witch. I stopped watching after episode 3, and I've seen clips of episode 4 and 5. I have somewhat watched it, but mind you, the episodes I did see bored me. The mech animation action was well done. The idea of video game gladiator-esque battles, but the context of it all is just corny to me. With Which it feels like it's Sunrise's attempt to follow a common trend in modern media. I guess it's a smart business move because that's the direction the money is going in these days, I guess. It reminds me of what Marvel and Disney... Now, I'm curious. This sounds like what he has said before, or am I... Is this... I wonder if... Yeah, I think, Brandon, you have brought this up before about that with, with companies and social stuff. I try not to talk too much on that because there is no way to determine if any of that is true. Unless we were to get to the writer's room and they had a script and there's notes that say, hey, we need to have a woman here. And it could just be like someone's like, oh, they're going to accept me being able to have a woman. Because I think, wasn't it before they made this show, they thought they were going to get rejected by having the female lead, and even Turn A was supposed to have a female lead, and that got rejected.
I mean, Tomino's been trying to have a female lead since 1983 because, for better or worse, Tomino has been trying to cultivate a female audience for Gundam for decades. To suggest that that's because of some current social movement, I don't think that argument holds water. And that's not to say that necessarily a female lead in Gundam is a bad thing or that it automatically disqualifies that Gundam as being good. I mean, for instance, Code Fairy, the video game, has an entire female cast, and that's fantastic. Had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I never questioned that. Yeah.
So, I think that being oversaturated by it in Western media might color someone's interpretation of it, but I would try to give things the benefit of the doubt before reading into any, whether it's casting choices or whatever it is that may be that you think is associated with a particular social stance. tend to give it the benefit of the doubt and let the work speak for itself, because it will. You know,
Yeah,
if it's a shallow attempt at like baiting certain types of fans, it's going to speak for itself. But
that's right. I think that's a good way to put it. And one thing that he says that kind of makes it. He says, "Hey, if that's what the Gundam streets want, then fine. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, sexist, misogynistic, but I like my Gundams to look masculine." And to be honest, yeah, people, you can have an opinion like that. I think it's perfectly fair. If Gundam was a certain way and you kind of still want it that way, I get it. It's kind of like how Star Wars had kind of changed, and I just didn't like it. Although Andor, oh my God, Andor's so good. I can't
total
believe it.
game changer.
Andor is the best Disney era Star Wars. It just is. Like, and it's better than most auteur movies. Like when you have Christopher Nolan or a sort of a director or writer that's about the artistry of it. This is beyond it. It's crazy. Crazy. And then, just to end, Brandon is saying, honestly, just patiently waiting for Hathaway Part 2 and a Thunderbolt continuation. I'm praying that Sunrise will look at the numbers on Doan's Island and do a remake of 0079. I think that's what the Gundam Streets really want. You know what? I do think it's good to do both. I think I have enjoyed Gundam so much. I remember when I was first getting into it, I was like, just UC. But then as I went, I was like, hey, the other stuff's pretty cool.
Nah, just UC.
Yeah. No, yeah. And then Ian replied to him, very cool. I did not see this earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, saying that he agrees about 0083 being beautifully animated. But yeah, the money thing, it really depends on that. But thanks, Ian, for that reply.
Yeah, I mean, I think my reply would be similar to that of Billy Madison. Is I disagree. 0083 is a very good show, but it's not the best show ever made. I think Donkey Kong is the.
No, that's good. Okay, so Goose, hey Adam and Steven, based on Adam's last video of Witch from Mercury and Steven's recent purchase, I want you guys to rank the top 5 Gundam hanger launch decks you can pull from any show or movie, but only use one per show movie. Okay, so what I'm gonna do real quick, Steven, is if you want to show everyone your thing behind you, I'm gonna put you on the full screen. Real quick, your your hanger deck back there.
Yes.
Sick. Oh, Zeta themed.
Got to keep it Zeta themed to start for sure.
So how hard was that to build, or was it easy?
Honestly, it's pretty much already built, and it actually comes pre-shaded too.
I was wondering about that.
That's the best part, is I don't have to screw up the paint job myself. It's already pre-painted. No,
that makes it worth it.
Basically in chunks, which is cool, and but it's very lightweight. I recommend any of those Mega House 1/144th scale hangers. I think that there's a seed one. There's the white base. I feel like there's another one on top of the Argama and is it the Archangel or the Dominion?
I know there's Archangel from Seed, but I don't know Dominion.
There you go.
Yeah, like
it's pretty sweet.
I think that is my favorite hanger too, and knowing that it's pre-shaded, like I think it's worth the price. Then, like totally worth the price.
Yeah, I mean it's gorgeous out of the box. Comes with some water slide decals that I have not applied yet. I'm not sure that I would necessarily apply, the numbers, but, maybe some of the stripes and little AU logos. I'm down for putting some of that stuff on there.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to have to get me one of those, because that's a good way to store Gundam or Gunpla, because my shelves are running out. I can just mount that.
Like I said, my wife was making fun of me, saying that I look like a serial killer with like my
I remember that.
plain white walls behind me. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll decorate the walls. I'll put some stuff up, and I think that this is a good way to display the old hybrid kits.
So yeah, I definitely say that's my favorite. I also I think it's called the Ptolemy from 00.
Yes, that's
And
all.
there's like 2 variants of that, I think, or a variant. But yeah, I think that's cool. You know, really anything in UC, since I like UC stuff, but also it has that kind of standard starship carrier vibe, but for a mech. So I'm really down with that. Oh yeah, Jedi say the same Ptolemaeus or something like that.
Ptolemaeus.
I don't know.
Very Greek.
Oh, and Neon Wave is saying Dominion is seed. Okay.
Yes, Dominion is seed.
Very cool. Thank you. You know, I also wanted to quickly shout out someone. Where was that chat? It was Joshua Chong. I just don't know if I've seen you message here before, so thanks for stopping by. No, but yeah, thanks, Goose. You know, you just remind me, Goose, how much I need to get a hanger deck, and just seeing what Steven has up there, I need to copy him. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Ian Hansen. What up, boys? We often talk about who the best pilots are in Gundam as a whole from the series to series. So let's change it up a bit and discuss who the worst pilots might be. Keep gun dabbing. Okay. So, Steven, on the on the count of 3, we're going to say who the worst Gundam pilot, or just pilot in the Gundam universe, okay?
Oh, man. Okay. Let's go for it.
It's not on 3, so 1, 2, 3, then, okay?
1, 2, 3, go. All right.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, Quest.
Reroutes.
Who?
Reroutes from Gundam Sentinel.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to give some background on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to hear why Quest is so terrible to you. I'm gonna defend Quest. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna defend Quest against you.
She didn't really understand her goal, and she ended up killing her dad. And then she started freaking out. Remember, the pressure was getting to her? So from the beginning, she thought she knew what she was doing. And
she did kill her dad
immediately. Yeah.
Pretty brutal fashion.
Yeah, he's just sitting there in the deck or whatever you call it, the
bridge.
And then to me that was shocking when that happened.
Go Funnels!
Yeah. that was pretty good. And that gave me PTSD also.
Yeah, that shrill all credit goes to the American voice actor who voice acted Quest, because man, that she's talented for making you despise her just that.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Truly efficiently.
Other than that, it's funny because you couldn't say Hathaway is a bad pilot because he piloted that mobile suit like it was nothing.
He killed Jan.
Yeah.
He one-shotted Jan.
And he was doing it deliberately, so he did a good job.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I think that's it for me, really. Oh, Lucas is saying Kotz was pretty bad too. Yeah, because wasn't he going after Sarah?
No simping, and that's the whole the whole theme of Hathaway's Flash is, guys, don't simp.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. By the end, it's like, oh, good job, Hathaway. You were skirting there.
You became a terrorist.
I guess that's what happens when these lonely, angry white boys don't get a woman. They become a terrorist.
The simp to terrorist pipeline is far too efficient. We need to split this up.
Yeah.
No, sorry. But yeah, no, I say Ryu Roots because he is the protagonist of Gundam Sentinel. He is an absolute garbage pilot, and in fact, on several occasions, the AI that controls the S Gundam, the superior Gundam, takes over on his behalf and controls the Gundam without him piloting it. In fact, there's a point in the visual novel where he pees his pants at the helm of the Gundam, which is like,
so he's deliberately made that way, or he's deliberately that character's okay, because that's actually reminding me of what's his name, Jonah Basta from Narrative, where he wasn't really a new type, but they were forcing it on him and trying to get in. Not to his. I don't think he wanted to do all that stuff anyway. So it's not really to his detriment that he's a bad pilot. He just didn't want to. I mean, okay. So that was a good one. Thanks, Ian. All right, Sway. Hi, GE. Let's do some mobile suit genealogy. What are all the mobile suits that descended from the RX-78? Include Gundams and grunts from EFF Titans and AU. Okay, so yeah, Steven, we're gonna name every mobile suit that came from the RX-78-2. Okay, ready? On the count of three.
One.
No, I'm joking. No, that's why I actually pulled this up. The Wikipedia page, or Gundam, yeah, the fandom page. So we have developed into, and there's a whole line, and I think it's safe to say anything that is a GM is technically part of that lineage.
Pretty much, yeah, I would say for the most part. I would argue that like the Mark II line and later versions of the Gundam, even though they are called Gundams, I would not necessarily put them in that same development tree, if that makes sense.
With the Mark II, you're saying?
Yeah, like with the Mark II, the Mark III, the GP series, I would hand it to the RX-78 because those are technically RX-78s. But the Gundam 4th, the Gundam 5th, the Mudrock, the Gundam 7th, those are all
would you say the
direct
Tristan
descendants
also?
of the RX-78. But the RX-178, the Mark II, is not necessarily a descendant of the RX-78 line. It's almost like a whole new mobile suit where it's a test bed for all the new
movable frame,
all the new materials that they're working with. The magnetic coating. Is it the magnetic coating?
Yeah, I think so.
The panoramic cockpit they introduced with the Alex, which the Alex actually is part of the RX-78 line.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so then that's pretty good, and so maybe that's what Sway was alluding to, because he does have some Gundam knowledge. So maybe it was just this core group of RX-78s, that include the Alex, the GPO series, even that new one, right? The Engage.
Yep.
That would be one, huh? Okay, so something else I found when I was looking here. Have you heard of For the Barrel?
For the Barrel, no.
Because there's this guy named Gunboy Wilbur.
Gunboy Wilbur, okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but it doesn't look like a
movable
Gundam.
Frame, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, it's this Gunboy Wilbur. I don't know it. Let's see. Does it say it's just Earth Federation? It's a prototype humanoid weapon developed by the Earth Federation forces. Its limbs are designed in the shape of Elon's pendulum, with an emphasis on mobility even in outer space. The Gunboy Wilbur's head is movable, and the chest protrudes from the back. The Gunboy Wilbur primarily moves in outer space with two main nozzles. The reactor is housed inside the back, overhanging behind it, and is directly connected to each of the main nozzles. When walking on surfaces, the toes transform and touch the ground. Both hands are four-fingered manipulators. So Gunboy, I think, is reference to what the original name of the Gundam was going to be. But it's just, it's just weird that this is on the main RX-78-2 wiki page. This has Origin, Evolve, G40, GDoc. Those make sense, but For the Barrel, that's new to me. That is new.
No, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I might have to dig into that more later. But something else. Robert saying something about a last comment. What about Patrick C from Double O? He declared he was an ace, but he kept getting shot down by his foes. Was that the bad guy that turns good? Is that who I'm thinking? I forget the guy's name.
Yeah,
I don't remember Patrick C in Double O. No. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Mad Dog, I agree with you. Ryu Roots is just a jobber who got handed a Gundam.
Wow, you guys know all this stuff. I got to keep up. Hey, but something really cool, the GBO2. So, hey, if anyone's just going to be chilling at home during Thanksgiving week, let me know, because I want to get a time where we all just play some GBO2. I really want to do that, and Evolution. But here's what's
that'd be fun.
Sick. GBO2 has the GM Sniper. They call it SP3. And the thing I saw in chat, I think Rogue and some others were talking about how it's like an Advanced of Zeta suit. So I pulled that up. Now, this looks sick. This is like that, RX-178, Quell, GM, but Sniper, I've never seen this before. I guess I haven't looked at all of the Advance of Zeta suits, but this GM Sniper 3 and GM Cannon, man, this stuff looks sick. I mean, I would almost say, Steven, that a future custom project would be, if they don't have one, or one that looks like this, yeah, to make one of these GM Sniper 3s.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a combo of basically a Sniper 2 head on top of a GM Quell. So it's like a Titans GM
Yeah.
Sniper.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of easy way to go about it. Huh. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Man, that art looks so sick.
Oh, the
Look, I hate the Titans, but man, that purple, navy, and yellow paint scheme is.
And you're working on one right now, right? The Hyzak?
Yeah, still got the Hyzak in the hopper for sure. I'm sure you'll see me dangling it from the Argama deck here at some point.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Well, cool. So you know what? That did it for most of what we were going to talk about today. Thanks for everyone that was in the chat. Jedi say the purple and gold, the colors of emperors. Good point. I have read that before, and I didn't really think about that with what we're seeing. I thought that
emperors were always naked. Was the?
That's right. Yeah, the emperors, was it new clothes?
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Everyone hates the Titans. Even Titans hate the Titans. Yeah, the Titans were an excellent bad guy that they created because they have the sickest suits and they're fun to fight.
Yeah.
That would be a good game sometime if they just made a game where you're just fighting those Advance of Zeta suits all the time. Let's see.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Goose is saying that Patrick is the first guy that got shot down in 00. Man, I don't remember. I guess I gotta watch it again.
I was gonna say that explains why you didn't remember.
Yeah. Oh, and then Lucas Garrett is saying correct. The line ended with the Gundam development project. The new line came about with the 178 line. So, Lucas Garrett, I am so glad you said that because I am actually doing research right now for a video about the Gundam development project, and you helped give me some more context. So, yeah, so did you hear that? So the Gundam development project was the idea because of Xeon Remnants, let's make all of these new badass mobile suits, kind of separate from Titans, although it ended up becoming a Titan thing eventually. But yeah, so that kind of makes some sense there. Yeah, I guess Operation V was so well received because of the Gundam that they're like, yeah, let's just do a Gundam development project.
Which, I mean, if we're going to talk about the most terrifying thing in Gundam, the creepiest thing in Gundam, can we talk about the fact that the first time you see Kai in the entire series, he knows Sayla's name without ever talking to her?
Oh, I didn't. I was just thinking he was just creepy in general, but that...
He's a little bit of a creeper. But his first interaction, the first lines that he has on the show is Sayla dogging him about not helping people, and he goes, "Your name's Sayla, right?" And it's like, how do you know who this woman's name is? She's a Federation pilot. You're from Side 7. What's going on here? It's like, was Kai the original new type? Maybe.
That's funny because I think in Origin, she's like a nurse on that colony.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But in the original, they had to have just written that just to introduce the character of Sayla. But if you were to really then give a backstory to that, if you had to give a real backstory, how did the guy know? That's pretty good. Let's do some fan fiction on Kai. But cool. But everyone, thank you for joining. Had so much fun today. Sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning. That's probably going to be maybe finally done for in the future now that I got the software up and running. Yeah, as always, check the links in the description for all the crazy stuff. You can support the channel for some crazy things. There's also Steven's channel in the description. We do live streams on Wednesdays. They're really fun. They kind of prep us for the show today. Anything else?
Patreon, because we pretty much chat like daily. I think that's probably something that we don't talk about enough, is that, like,
that's true.
We're pretty much on there voice chatting every day.
Yeah, and the people that are in that, they teach me so much about Gundam. It's like you can throw in a question and someone's gonna have an answer you never heard of. Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah. Oh, Lucas is saying something. You're welcome, Adam. Let me know if you need any help with the Gundam development project research. How that was covered up by the Titans still intrigues me. Now that I didn't know either. So thank you. I will reach out to you. Well,
Yeah,
cool. Well, Steven, anything else?
I think you covered it.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you. Have a good weekend, and we will talk to you next time. Peace out.
Cheers.